There are a few things going on with Gen Z, and I'm going to explore it in two different articles. So, this one is titled Gen Zers Are Turning to Radical Rest, Delusional Thinking, and Self Indulging as They Struggle to Cope with Late Stage Capitalism. Gen Zers are still in the early stages of their careers and personal finance journeys, but their financial habits are already proving to be radically different than those of their predecessors, with heightened levels of anxiety about the future grounded in very real socioeconomic and environmental issues. Gen Zers are reconfiguring their approach to money. For those beacons of anti capitalism and pivotal figures in the Great Resignation, financial success at the age of late stage capitalism looks very different from how other generations may have defined it. Gen Zers have encountered their own set of unique challenges entering the workforce at a time of global societal uncertainty, from graduating during a global pandemic to current fears around inflation, wage stagnation, growing inequality, and impending recession. Many feel that the cards are stacked against them. A recent study by Fidelity Investments found that 45% of people aged 18 to 35 don't see a point in saving until things return to normal. In that same age group, 55% said that they put retirement planning on hold during the pandemic because there's no money. Almost a quarter of Gen Z respondents said that they do not expect to retire. I mean, most of us older folks don't expect to retire either. This may be because they're young and such financial goals seem too far away to properly comprehend, but national statistics support the fact that traditional milestones like home ownership and retirement are increasingly unattainable for everyone. For everyone. People need to understand this. The typical first-time buyer was 36 years old in 2022, rising from 33 in 2021, an all-time high. Coupled with the rising student loan debt, it makes the American dream ever less achievable for young people. When it comes to financial wellness, Gen Zers place less emphasis on the financial than on the wellness. Unlike previous generations, they're unwilling to stick it out at a toxic job or forego travel and experiences in favor of padding their savings. Traditional markers of financial success, from owning a home to snagging that corner office at work, are becoming not only less attainable, but also less valuable because many of us can't afford it. So they're like, WTF, YOLO, let's go travel. I want to hit this one. Gen Zers know that there is no retirement, that the American dream isn't going to be for them. So they're like, F it, I'm just going to chill and do what I need to do just to survive. And that is not going to bode well for employers. Part 2 is coming up next. So this is part 2. I just did a video on the motivation about from Gen Zers. Now let's talk about how that is going to impact the workforce. Gen Z are the most disgruntled workers, and that's a problem for employers. Gen Z workers aren't happy on the job. One of the 4 working generations, those born starting in the late 90s, are more likely to say their work is frustrating and overwhelming. And another found that Zoomers are more likely to say they have little energy for non-work activities at the end of the day. The obvious result, the youngest generation is more likely to report looking for a new job or to have quit recently. This is a problem for employers, which lose a lot of money. Every time that someone quits, you have to retrain those people. And it looks like it's going to cost 1.5 to 2 times their salary. Fundamentally, the workforce is broken. The disease is causing the ailment that is quiet quitting and the Great Resignation. Gen Zers are like, get someone else to do it. Employers have to look at the needs, wants, and expectations of the modern employee and what employers are providing. If they don't do this, if they do not meet the wants, needs, and expectations of this generation, that generation is saying peace out. Because, like I said in the last video, they understand that there is no retirement. They understand that there's no American dream for many of us because the costs are too high. So what is the purpose? You have got to talk to these people and figure out how to speak to their wants, needs, and expectations. A recent Bankrate survey of over 2,400 adults found that Gen Z was more likely to report quitting a job and getting a new job in the last year than any other generation. It also found that 55% of Gen Z workers report that they are very likely to look for a new job in the next year versus 43% of millennials, 28% of Xers, and 13% of baby boomers. Gen Z they're not staying where they don't like it. They are not staying for any other reason, like, expectations or shaming tactics or for their family, because many of us understand that there is no American dream. They're not getting married. They don't want to be married because the costs are too high. It is a myth that every Gen Z wants to work from home. What they want is flexibility, that when something happens, you have a sick relative, or you're not feeling well, or there's construction going on your home, that there's some flexibility. It's possible to be very productive from home, and you know that you can have all the tools you need at home. So it makes less sense that someone would not approve that request. This middle paragraph is important. To help younger workers manage their time off, employers must provide clear paid time off policies. For instance, she advised against telling an employee to take a reasonable amount of PTO. You can also read the rest of this slide, but jump in the comments, tell me what you think.